All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the DeFi emergence on
So it looks like someone still has a secondary tab of Crowdcast open. That's causing some feedback. If you can all just double check that you don't have a second tab open, we'll make sure that that doesn't happen again. And so I'm going to try unmuting, and hopefully we'll be good to start in just a second.
Hi, everyone. Okay, great. It wasn't I don't have any extra tabs open. Good to know. So apologies for the technical difficulties there. Welcome to the DeFi emergence on EVM-compatible Parachains panel. My name is Bill Laboon. I'm at Web3 Foundation here in Zug, Switzerland. So I think before we start, I just want to have everyone that will be joining us give a short introduction of what their projects are and who they are. So why don't we start with Martin from Ausd.
Yes, great. Thanks a lot, Bill. So hi, my name is Martin. I'm the head of ecosystem development for Ausd. We are a smart contract parachain on Polkadot as well as on Kusama. We focus as well as on EVM as on WASM smart contracts. So that's a little bit about us.
How about Nate from Moonbeam?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for hosting this, Bill. Good to see you. I'm Nate. I lead ecosystem for Moonbeam. We're an EVM-compatible parachain on Polkadot, and we also have our Moon River deployment on Kusama.
Okay. Nico Grayshark from Firefly.
Hey all. So Firefly is a substrate-native non-custodial trading platform that's democratizing access to financial markets. And the vision behind Firefly is to combine the speed and performance of centralized exchanges with the benefits of blockchain, such as transparency, immutability, and permissionless access. So the whole exchange is decentralized. There's not a central party storing funds. And all that's required to interact with Firefly is to plug in a Web3 wallet.
All right, very cool. All right, finally, Eric Ashdown from Covalent.
Hey guys, I'm Eric, head of ecosystem at Covalent. Covalent's data middleware, so we take a direct replica of 30 plus blockchains and make it queryable from an API. So that's what we do. We work with a lot of blockchains, including Moonbeam. We have Moonbeam, we have direct replica Moonbeam, Shiden, Moon River, and very soon Astar. We're very excited. And so yeah, that's what we do.
All right. Thanks everyone. So I guess my first question is, if we could go through each of the people here, whatever order that we like, what are the benefits of developing DeFi applications on EVM-compatible parachain? So probably the obvious one is that you can use Solidity, so that, if you're familiar with that, you can just, which many people already are, you can just start programming on these EVM-compatible chains. But are there any other benefits to developing with this? So whoever would like to take it, please do.
Sure, I'll jump in. I think you hit it on the head with I think just the amount of developers in the space who understand Solidity, and that's great. But I think one of the things that we also realized early on was it's not just the developers that can write in Solidity, it's also all of the surrounding tech stack that supports Solidity and has been built over the past 5 years, call it. And so whether it's things like the graph or Chainlink or wallet support, those are things that are critical for developers and for end users. And so being able to utilize an EVM on the DeFi side, it makes it a lot more straightforward to be able to kind of get up and get deployed relatively quickly and have kind of this look and feel of tools and infrastructure that they're already used to using kind of across the board. I think that's one of the big benefits of being able to leverage an EVM from a builder perspective.
Yeah, I know from a user perspective.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
No, I just started to continue. Yeah, I know from a user perspective, we get people asking, why doesn't the Polkadot.js extension act like MetaMask? And so if you can have tools like MetaMask that are using it, you can see how that's easier for users as well as developers. I apologize, Martin, please.
No problem. I just wanted to add as well with the EVM, why is EVM so great for DeFi? Because it's like the perfect gateway to a new ecosystem. And I think EVM is so well known in the blockchain, is so well known with the users. Having that like available on any blockchain, it's just like a gateway for new users coming in and explore for us, like Polkadot, for instance. And I think that's why EVM is so important to have. And yeah, that's what I wanted to add to Nate's comment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so we're a little different. We're not a blockchain, we're middleware. And so we have over 27,000 developers that have signed up for Covalent. And the thing that we realize, it's a lot of it is the tooling and it's the standards. So an example is if you have a product and you're getting all of your data from one place and you understand what data you're pulling and what the data looks like and what it's supposed to look like when it arrives, it makes it so much easier opposed to going to learn a whole new stack, right? Everything is built around Ethereum. A lot of the tooling is built around it. And, Ethereum, is it every Ethereum is not what it was in terms of the price and the speed, like it has its own issues, but because the tooling is ubiquitous and it's what people have known to rely on, I think that it lets people focus on building better products opposed to learning new tooling and new code. So I think that's a huge, huge advantage in the space. It's not to say that it's better, it's just to say it's more ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people can focus on doing what they want to do and not learning something from scratch.
Exactly. And I'll echo the comments made by Nate and Martin as well, that even though we're in the Polkadot ecosystem, it was really important for us at Firefly to offer support for MetaMask and other popular extensions that everyone is already familiar with. And to provide more context as well, like Eric did, we're building for the largest use case of Web3 today. For the past 15 months, the monthly trading volumes of perpetuals already outweighed the trading volumes for spot assets. And specifically in the last quarter of 2021, spot asset trading was 8 trillion USD in volume, and perpetuals trading volume was 10 trillion USD. And so we're bringing this use case of a decentralized derivatives exchange to the Polkadot ecosystem via an EVM-compatible chain. So I think that's the main benefit, is being able to cross-pollinate the same use cases that are fundamental building blocks all around in blockchain to a Polkadot ecosystem.
Yeah, that actually is a really good segue to my next question, which was, there are a lot of other EVM-compatible chains out there and ecosystems. So what made you what made you want to build in the Polkadot ecosystem compared to whatever Binance Smart Chain or Ethereum or any of these other EVM-compatible chains?
Right. I think it's two primary reasons: scaling and then the cross-chain communications. So the scaling model is a very compelling parallel computing kind of model, where instead of using just one underlying layer one blockchain, we now have these parachains, right? And what that will allow is the throughput of the whole ecosystem, the Polkadot ecosystem, is going to become much more over time. And I believe it will lead to stronger network effects of everyone using the same ecosystem and having the same ecosystem experience. And then the second thing I mentioned was the cross-chain interactions. And that again is going to reinforce the network effects, to be able to interact with all of the different apps and all of the different protocols all across different parachains in the Polkadot ecosystem. And I think those two things were really compelling reasons to build on Polkadot versus anywhere else.
I'd actually be curious too to hear from our two representatives from Parachains, how their particular parachains compare, right, to others in the ecosystem, and building on those, like building on Moonbeam or Astar. What are the benefits and if you like, the drawbacks as well of building on your chain compared to others?
Okay, cool. Well, I can talk about Astar. So basically what we are trying to do is not only focus, we were trying to be like the smart contract parachain, So not only focus on EVM, but also mainly focus on WebAssembly smart contracts. This is our main focus for 2022, focus on the WASM. While Moonbeam is taking great job into EVM. So it's great for them to focus on this while we can focus on the WASM. Indeed, we have the full support of Parity as well and Web3 Foundation with this, having the frontier and then the contract palette that we can maintain, build, and together with, like Nico was saying, the XCM is so important. For the users now currently using the dApps now in Moonbeam or us, they don't see that much of a difference. But what is coming is something that people need to know as well. So the XCM, they currently have limitations on our side of not being able to use this. But what will be in the next quarter, what will be next year? There are so many things that Polkadot can offer for the cross-chain communication that it's up to us, like Moonbeam and us, to educate the people and educate basically the developers, getting them onto us, like what are the benefits on building on Polkadot? This is what Polkadot can bring you, not only today, but what we can bring in the future. For instance, that future-proof concept by doing forkless upgrades, for instance, this is something great for DeFi product as well, to know that our parachains will always be there in the future. Whenever there's a new update, you guys don't need to worry about anything. We will take care of this as well as the security aspect of the relay chain. So what we are doing as a parachain is also educated developers to build on us and try to convince them why should you build on Polkadot.
Yeah, I would agree with everything Martin said. I think that, from a Moonbeam perspective, when we kind of engaged with the Polkadot ecosystem in 2019 or early 2020, I think we just took a very pragmatic view of the Polkadot ecosystem at the time, and thought that like just being kind of the EVM compatible parachain would just be kind of our focus and our niche. And I think we fully believe in the vision of Polkadot and like specialization around parachains. And so from A-Star's perspective, focusing on providing an EVM, but also I think that a lot has been going into the WASM and Ink based smart contracts, which I think are kind of the native of Polkadot, which I think is super valuable. And so I think longer term, we see the vision of Polkadot with the specialization piece being key. I think from our side, it was more of like let's help get people into this ecosystem, and what's the best way to kind of do that from the start. And it's just provide the best EVM implementation that we can and just specialize on that, even though it from like a developer perspective or from like a market perspective, that seems kind of broad, right? Because we don't just focus on DeFi or NFTs or gaming. It's a little bit of everything. But when you step back, you think about just our specialization is just that EVM. And so, I think that, there's obviously some EVM is not perfect. And if you look back 5 years ago, you could probably think of things that you would do maybe a little bit differently. But I just think for right now, where the market is providing that, the most robust support from an EVM perspective is really just our focus moving forward.
Okay. And Eric, as someone who works on a project that is, as you mentioned, more multi-chain, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on how building for the Polkadot ecosystem is different than others.
I think everybody said it really good, but Nate said something that resonated where it says it's for now, right? We work with only EVM chains to date. We've dabbled in Solana a bit and Near a bit, but I don't think the EVM is great. I don't think it's the best solution. I think it's the most ubiquitous and widespread solution. I think it's brilliant, and it's got widespread adoption, and everybody knows it. And there's data standards. We all know what an ERC20 is. So we're not reinventing the wheel. Like, you can talk to anybody in crypto on any chain, and they know what it is. What I think is super compelling, more compelling than anything else, is I think the EVM is a great way to get people into the Polkadot ecosystem. I think it's a great way to keep a large amount of people who are just saying, okay, I just want something basic. I don't want to relearn everything. I need some basic tools. I'm more focused on building a game or building, a derivatives or building something. And then you'll see the real innovation on the WASM and Ink layers. I think that's where the real stuff is going to get really interesting. But the EVM is a great way to get people in. And anybody who wants to build truly innovative, groundbreaking tech will be able to do it. But I think the bulk of people, it's sort of like, the bulk of applications or the bulk of developers want to build front-end apps. They want to build games. They want to build, like different types of tooling. Most people, I don't think, want to build hardcore tech. or the backbones of things. I think that's what's super compelling, and that's where we're very early in the game.
All right, thank you. All right, so then I guess we've talked a lot about like sort of like very fundamental aspects of like building on EVM, but since this is talking about DeFi emergence, I'm curious what all of your thoughts are on the state of DeFi in the Polkadot ecosystem, and specifically like how it might compare to other systems. So I know, like, again, I think we have an interesting mix here, right? We have some people building projects, and we have some people building that, that infrastructure, the substrate, if you will, for DeFi applications. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on the current state of DeFi, in Polkadot, and probably even more so on Kusama, since things are happening a little more quickly on there. Does anyone want to start off? All right, Nate, I see you unmuted yourself.
Sure.
So
yeah, no, happy to go. I mean, I think that I think on the Polkadot side, we're like top of the first inning. If you want a sports analogy, it's just like super early days. I mean, everything in Polkadot right now, XDM is going to go live here in the next like week or two, which is great. But I think like it is still like maybe it's not even the first inning. I don't know. Maybe it's like first pitch got thrown out. So in Kusama, I think it's a little bit further ahead, but still it is like super early days on the DeFi side. I mean, I think that there are great teams that we're seeing build on Moon River, and you're going to see even more coming to Moonbeam as well once some of the additional infrastructure is in place to be able to support that. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of hard sometimes when you try and compare Polkadot to other layer 0 or layer 1 ecosystems out there, because folks are like, well, Dot's been live or KSM's been live for over a year, and it's like, well, yeah, that's fine, but that's just a token. That's not actually the tech behind it. And so until the crowd loans went live, which was great on Kusama, but it took 6 months, I think, before XCM hit on Kusama after the crowd loans, and so you were kind of building in your own kind of silo. And now we're starting to see the parachains talk to each other and start to get, XCM, pathways set up so that tokens can start to move. And with Moonbeam going, with XCM on Polkadot going live in the next couple of weeks, we'll start to see that. But I mean, it takes a while. It takes time to kind of adopt that and get teams collaborating. And so it's happening. It's still going to take, 3 to 6 months before I think you see, a lot of these use cases around XCM start to, showcase, start to build, start to talk about it publicly. So, I mean, I just think like it's way too early to really compare Polkadot and even Kusama in a lot of ways to any other, ecosystems who've been, running for a year plus at this point.
Yeah, because like you said, that whole cross-chain communication and cross-chain assets is really just starting. And I think that's sort of one of the big key differentiators is that this very, very simple cross-chain communication. But we are seeing that. We're seeing a lot of interesting things, on state mine right now, and some assets becoming sufficient and things like that. And more HRMP channels opening all the time.
Yep,
Martin?
I want to add something about as well for the DeFi on Polkadot now. So where are we currently? Basically, a lot of projects are still building, like Nico, for instance, still building everything. What do we see now? Mostly we see a fork over fork over fork. Not so exciting for new people, but what I really see coming for the DeFi for Polkadot that is there, that's the AUSD from Ecola. We have been talking with them a lot, as well as Moonbeam as a star. With the XCM and the AUSD, this can bring a whole another new wave into the Polkadot ecosystem on its whole with the stablecoin that they are creating. And what they are doing with the AUSD is something that can only be, in my opinion, done by a parachain, not by any smart contract. So that makes it also very interesting. And they will bring it as well to all the other parachains. So I think for now, the AUSD is something that everybody in the DeFi on Polkadot should look forward to. And then I think for new innovative projects like what Nico is building, what other projects are building as well on a star. So I think it's the beginning, as Nate say, but we are getting closer and closer. So I'm very excited for DeFi on Polkadot.
Can we quickly go in to what makes AUSD different from other stable coins, and why it could only be done on a parachain?
But I'm not so technically on the line about the AUSD. I saw them in Amsterdam. I had a great talk with Brian and Dan, and the vision that they have regarding the AUSD and how they want to make this like the native Polkadot stablecoin is something really interesting. So I'm not so sure if they actually have a talk here in this event, but if they do, you should really check it out.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That's a great team, the Ecola team. They're building some amazing stuff, although not, at the Parachain level. Although they're also doing some EVM stuff. All right, so for our project builders, how do you see the state of DeFi currently on Polkadot?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I have much to add over what Nate and Martin already said, given that they are Parachain projects and they have a much clearer view and insight into the DeFi on their own respective blockchains. But I will say that I agree with what was said about how it's only now getting built out and we're really in the first inning of the game. And I'm mostly looking forward to more and more DeFi primitives, apart from just forks, also innovations, different fundamental protocols coming together, and then soon enough, XCM being able to connect the liquidity between these different projects. And I think that will obviously create a lot of liquidity network effects and should be really strong for the experience as a whole. Another thing I'm also looking forward to is scaling. So tackling throughput and transaction finality times for DeFi to be more performant, to be faster. And this is part of our focus as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that the developers of Substrate and Polkadot have been working on, right? Is increasing scalability, increasing the speed of blocks, with asynchronous backing, etc. So yeah, we're
exactly. It's great to see. It's great to see as a DeFi builder.
That's good to know. Okay, Eric.
Forks on forks on forks on forks. There's a lot of forks. I think the state as of now is the beginning. I think sort of what you're seeing is everything is, and this is why I think Astar and Moonbeam have massive legs up here, is that everything is a fork. Like the amount of, I think I pulled this stat recently where on the chains that we index, there's I think 2,200 Uniswap V2 forks. So this is across like a 30 blockchains, right? So like I'm not like, but I think the thing is they're all necessary. They all serve a special purpose. And I think the thing is it's giving people the familiar things to get them in the door. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's the appetizer. It's the thing that they're getting to know first. I think these things will 100% evolve as, XCM and all of these things come online and things start to grow in the Polkadot ecosystem as a whole. I think there's some great projects on like a lot of the parachains. I think you're just going to see a lot of that at the beginning because it's the fastest way to get to market and everyone's just going to find their niche over time. It's like anything else, right? Like once you have more features, there's more you can do. The forks are going to die down. There's not going to be as many of them. Maybe it'll be certain features that get adopted, some of the more popular features. But I think, having some of these early projects and having the forks are great because, I look at something like Moonwell or I can't remember what they're called. Any of the dexes on Moonbeam, and you look at them, and there's a bunch of projects I've never heard of, and that right away is some marketing for some early nascent Polkadot project on just Moonbeam, right? So I think there's a lot of interest there, and they're necessary to kickstart an ecosystem. They'll grow, they'll evolve, new features will come online, and things will just innovate naturally.
Yeah, great. So we talked about like the current state, and some people have mentioned a few things that they're looking forward to, like obviously XCM on Polkadot, which should be coming very soon, and like increased liquidity, and like more cross-chain communications. Are there any other particular things anyone is looking forward to in Polkadot that, like, either in terms of DeFi or in terms of things that would help DeFi? Right, that like additional things in the ecosystem or at the chain level or at the protocol level?
Yeah, for us, it's basically the first DeFi product written in ink live on a mainnet of the Parachain. I think that's what we are looking forward to, getting the WASM on mainnet and getting everything up and running. So yeah, that's our main challenge for 2022, and I think we are getting closer and closer. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I think Bill, I think you mentioned the feature a little bit earlier, but it's the asynchronous backing. I mean, that's gonna be a big deal for all parachains. I think we might be impacted more than most right now, just because we've gotten a lot of early traction, and so we're excited to kind of see that come to fruition and the amount of throughput that'll kind of open up and stuff. So that's what I'm personally most excited about. I mean, I think XCM going live is awesome, and we're already seeing a lot of collaboration. I think that's something that's been missed. I think for maybe the past year or so in the Polkadot ecosystem, maybe year and a half, is before XCM was live, we were all kind of siloed, and so I think everyone had their own kind of things that they had to go do to get people excited, build community and whatnot, and so it kind of fractured some of that collaboration that just couldn't be done without XCM being live. And so now that it'll be live on Polkadot and on Kusama, I think that you'll start to really see a lot more collaboration, which would be nice.
Yeah, and that's if I can just add in my view here is something that I see that's very amazing about the Polkadot ecosystem is the amount of collaboration between teams. Is even though there are a lot of different chains, we all sort of realize that we're all part of the same ecosystem, and if one project gains and one chain gains, that's also the gain of others. So I see we just have about a minute or 2 minutes left. So are there any things that you sort of want to some last words or final thoughts before we end the panel discussion?
I'll throw in one thing that I think is just a lesson to be learned, which I think everybody should keep in mind. And this is something that I've shared a few times, and I alluded to it earlier. But I think as things start coming online, I think something to keep in mind is data standards, in the sense that everyone knows what an ERC 721 1155 is. And as these things start being created, it's super important to keep them in mind, because if you look, one of the biggest gaps in other ecosystems is knowing what actually happened after the fact. So this is coming from a data perspective, but if everybody has their own way of writing smart contracts and their own standards for their own chain, and not everybody wants to collaborate or work together, that's going to cause massive problems, and it's going to be a lot of finger pointing at the end of the day. I think data standards at this point is something that should be definitely discussed. I think it should be a higher topic of conversation, and I think it'll make getting third parties like us, who are just so entrenched in EVM, over the line to come and start doing something different, right? Because it's one of the main problems. It's why Near doesn't have traction, or Solana doesn't have traction, or Elrond doesn't have traction. And these aren't Polkadot specific, but Solana does arguably now, but they paid a lot of money for it. But I think there's something to be said about just making that. And and now is the time to start having these conversations, not 2 years in when everything is live and everyone's like, well, this is how we should do this contract. This is how this contract should be written. This is the standard, and this is the NFT standard, and this is this. So yeah, just a word of just forewarning. So it's not an afterthought.
Yeah, and I'm happy to jump in. Also say that I'm really looking forward to Polkadot, all of the levels of the stack becoming more and more decentralized, with light clients coming online such that anyone can join in and start validating the network. And over the next few months, I think we're really going to see that come to fruition. And I'm really looking forward to Polkadot becoming this unstoppable, decentralized layer 0 protocol for all of these other innovations to take place.
Yes, me too, definitely. All right, it looks like that really quickly, Martin and Nate, do you want to say any last words?
Yeah, just some last words. So if you are maybe by any chance in the neighborhood of some conferences going on with Polkadot, please jump in, because most of our Parachains are also there. It's great to connect with community, and then you can see in real life how well we get along with each other, because it's not that we are fighting or competing with each other. No, we are here to build Polkadot together. And I think you can see that definitely when you are in a conference and meeting us in person.
Yeah, agreed. It's not about getting a bigger piece of the pie. It's about making the whole pie bigger. And that's a collaborative effort that brings community together, that makes everybody, we're stronger as we work together and build, the real value of Polkadot and things along those lines. So excited to see how it builds over the next year, and the Equilibrium team as they come online and working with some of their DeFi primitives and their stables and things like that. I think will be super interesting. So thanks for putting this together.
Thanks Equilibrium. And so that concludes it. And I definitely am also looking forward to seeing how Polkadot moves forward in the future. All right.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank
See you
you.
guys.